It seems like ceramic, of all the products in the floor covering business, there's more variety. At least it seems that way to me, going to coverings in any of these ceramic shows. There's an endless variety. It would seem like there's something for every consumer out there.
I agree, and I will tell you, it's really fun to see. The American consumer, can swing really modern at times, and it even surprises me, some of these really linear looks that we have that we do really well with. We just introduced a brick tile that looks just like a brick you would see in like an urban loft or maybe a little farmhouse kitchen floor. So there are lots of varieties, and I do think that's helping with the growth, because there's a flavor for everybody, right? If you want a farmhouse rustic wood look, you can find that in a porcelain plank. If you want a polished white marble look, you can find that. So you're right, I think variety in tile now is more than ever. It's really exciting to watch.
So it seems like the key would be, number one, visualization online and showing samples in, say, a retail showroom. Those would seem to be key.
Yeah, they're pretty important. I mean, I'm a big believer, people get inspiration, I think, first digitally. They go out and look at Pinterest and Houzz and different types of room spaces, magazines, everything, I think starts digitally. And so people are very, very, very used to a room, like the whole package of the room. So sometimes when they make that transition into a showroom, it can be a little tricky because they're envisioning their beautiful kitchen. The picture in their mind is a room, it's not a tile. So then when they walk into tile, showrooms, it can be a little bit tricky. So, being able to visualize that actual piece of tile in a space sometimes can be hard. So one of the things we're encouraging our dealers and different tile showrooms to do is to really think about those graphic images. You really should have some photography in your showrooms to when you see that white, marble looking tile and you see a picture of a white bathroom with white on the walls and floors, you're like, okay, I get it. I understand how this can come together and make my dream bathroom.
Well, like in your showroom here, and even down the hall of your office, you have various products so you can see what it looks like when it's on the floor.
Right, absolutely.
Or on the wall, I suppose.
Absolutely, and I think a big thing too is editing down. So many people can get overwhelmed by trying to make a decision on what to put, and if you have 50, wood looks to choose from, it's too much. Like sometimes you have to be really good editors, and I think people walk in the door and want you to say, yes, this goes together. And so they can design with confidence for their space and know, hey, somebody's taken the time to select these products, put these looks together, and look at this great room that they've been able to build from this tile.
Too many choices are not necessarily a good thing.
Right, less is more.
I got you. Mosaics. It seems to me, going to these shows, that must be the most popular type of product. I don't know that that's true. Is that true?
Well, look, mosaics is interesting. There's a lot of money in mosaics because you can really, really play with the cost and what you do with your mosaics. So you can design a space with a pretty basic tile and you can dress it up with your mosaic, right? So really there's a lot of design that we put into our mosaics. We spend a lot of time making sure we have a variety of look, variety of styles, colors, textures, to give each customer their own kind of selection, right? They can pick something that fits their personal taste. And in that way they also kind of can be different from their neighbor when they go to install something.
Yeah, and it gives them a little chance to be creative, I suppose.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, what's the latest trend in terms of mosaics, color, shapes, and so on?
So mosaics is also having a lot of things go on lately. We had a lot of mosaics that were interlocking. That was the biggest, very linear, long pieces of glass and stone mix. That was popular really for a couple of years. We're really starting to see a spike in shapes. So anything from like a hexagon, an arabesque, herringbone, pattern, chevron, we're seeing that become really popular and really a play on finish. Mixing finishes is really interesting. One of the cool things you can do, especially in natural stone, is take, for example, you have a white marble hexagon. Well, if you play with the textures on the surface of that good, you're going to get a really interesting look. So you can have honed polished, burnished, and chiseled, all those textures on one surface of a natural stone, and you have this dynamite look. So texture and finishes on top of mosaics is also a really, really big trend right now.
It seems like there's just an endless variety.
There are.
Mosaics.
I mean, I don't even, the number we have is, I mean, we have over 700 mosaics because there's so many looks out there that you really need to have, and there's always something new. We're always looking for something new. Metallics are big, metals are big, mixing porcelain and glass, so we're always adding new items, new shapes, because that is the fastest moving category when it comes to trend and making sure that you're on top of things. You got to do it in mosaics. That's where you have to be on top of it. It moves a lot faster than, say, floor tile.
I guess in merchandising in a showroom, that ought to be the first choice, mosaics, because it seems like more and more people are interested in that.
Yeah, they are, and it's something that I think people forget about. I think we spend a lot of time focusing on, floors, the wall is important, but I think that a customer wants to have that personal touch. And so if we forget about the mosaics, then they kind of lose that. So yes, you're right, it's something that we should really start considering in all of our showrooms to make sure that everyone is showing mosaics and talking about them, using them for kitchen backsplashes, adding them as an accent in their shower. There's a lot you can do with them. We're even seeing mosaics go on bathroom floors. So
really?
Take a little hexagon, I mean, kind of like an old bungalow from the 30s, you'd see in the Northeast with the little hexagon tiles on the floor. We're seeing a big surge of that coming back in, a powder room, maybe not the whole master bathroom floor, but some of the secondary baths in the home, people are putting natural stone mosaics on the floor.
Very interesting. I wouldn't want to be the person to have to decide what products to buy for an operation like this with a multitude of mosaics that are around. Do you get involved in that?
I do design our mosaics, and so I spend a lot of time working with the buyers and coming up with what we should be buying, what colors they should be, what styles we need to have. And for me, because we buy from so many different countries and so many different factories, we're able to go get whatever we want. Our hands are not tied that, our factory makes, X or Y. We can go out and say, we need to get a new hexagon. It needs to be multi-finished. So we go out and look for the goods that we want, and we design them, we change them up to meet the American market's needs, and we feel pretty good about what we've got.
Very interesting. So if we're talking a year and a half, 2 years down the road, what do you think we're going to be talking about in terms of hot colors and new looks?
That's going to be interesting. I will say, when it comes to tile, I think the world's going to always stay pretty neutral. I mean, it's the right thing to do. I think you think about resale of your home and will someone else like this if they ever come in, or will I ever get tired of this because it is so permanent? So you're going to stay pretty neutral. I think it's been nice to watch the scale move from beige into gray. So I think it's always going to flux in between those colors for, floor tile. But the wood category has been fun to watch too, because there's a lot of color really in that. Espressos and walnuts and all the different colors you see there. When it comes to wall tile, it's going to be fun to watch. I've loved, I was just at Versailles, and chevron was the pattern to have, which is that big heavy zigzag. And last year was hexagon, so it's always changing. I mean, we certainly look at fashion and textiles to see if we can kind of predict, but I love to see what's coming next.
Very interesting. Emily, thanks so much for sharing this with us. It's been really interesting.
Absolutely.
We've been talking with Emily Holle. She heads trend and design at MS International. And this is Talk Floor TV.
Watch this.